So I'm going to turn over this part to y'all. So what questions do you have that I might be able to answer for you?
Dr. Henne, I'm going to start because one of the things that students have heard about, and I want our parents to hear about it as well, is the culture of care on campus. Can you talk a little bit about what that is for folks?
Sure. The culture of care. When many students come to campus, it's a lot of firsts for a lot of folks. It's the first time living on your own, making independent decisions. It's a lot of trial and error. And part of what the culture of care really represents is making sure that even when students might not make the best choice, they have resources available to them, and they have the opportunity to learn from those experiences. Um, I liken it back to the analogy. So having most recently come from Alaska, for those that have never been, there's a lot of rugged terrain there. And when you drive from like Anchorage to another town or city, you generally are driving by large masses of water with very steep cliffs on the side. And on those roads, there's that barricade that runs down the side to make sure people don't fall off into the bay or harbor. So I liken a lot of the work that I do to kind of be in that barricade. So if a student makes a choice or decision that may kind of push them up against that barricade, my job is to keep them on track, keep them moving forward in the right direction. They may get banged up a little bit. They'll definitely know that we had an interaction. But the reality is that they're still progressing towards their ultimate goal, which is, retention, and then of course graduation. So that's one aspect of the culture of care. The other thing, through the university care team, that is a group of people from across all aspects of the university, whether it's academic affairs or student affairs or staff and other team members that come together to identify what are the best resources available on campus. So if a student comes in presenting with a specific issue, problem, or concern, that group of people can make sure that whatever resource or service that individual student is going to need for their individual success, they're going to have access to that success or access to that resource. It's really a philosophy of making sure students have access to the best possible experience they choose to have access to. We can't force students to participate in our events or programs. We can't force students to even go see their academic advisor. We hope they do those things. We hope they participate because there's a lot of research that's out there that says that a student that is involved is more likely to graduate in a 4 to 6 year period of time. And I say that 4 to 6 year period of time because not everyone's college path is the same. And so making sure that there's space for students to figure out what they want to do and what they want to be when they grow up, because some folks may have an idea of right when they get here, even before college, like, here's what I want to do, this is what I want to be. But when they get here, they realize that that might not be the right path for you. I thought I was going to be a lawyer. I ended up having a doctorate in counseling. So it really does evolve and change based on your experiences, because when you actually get into some of the career paths that your student might be looking into with their degrees or majors, they will figure out sometimes quickly, sometimes after a semester or two, that this might not be the right path for them. And that's okay, because that the care that we wrap your student around, proverbially, not literally, really helps them have opportunities and access to a variety of systems and a variety of experiences to help them cultivate what it is that they want to do and where they want to go and how they want to be. So whether it's individual identity development to career exploration to figuring out what am I really good at, the cultural care really makes sure that that individual student is connected to the right piece across campus to facilitate that exploration and discovery.
Thank you so much. And for our guests that are with us today, in order to ask your own questions, we have 2 features that you can use. In your toolbar, if you hover at the bottom of your screen, you should see a chat bubble or a Q&A Q&A bubble. Both are perfectly fine ways to ask questions. Q&A, you have the option to ask anonymously if you would like, or chat broadcasts to everyone. If we have enough questions, Q&A, it keeps track of those questions so that we might not lose them as a chat screen rolls. So whichever you would prefer, or if you would prefer as an attendee, if you want to ask your question out loud, turn your camera on. You can use the raising your hand feature. So if you hover over your name, you can raise your hand and I can change your status in our webinar today, and you can turn your camera and you could talk directly to Dr. Henne. So we have a nice sized group today, not too large, not too small, where we have all the things open to us. So please feel free to ask your questions and we are here for you.
Thank you, Colleen.
Well, folks are maybe formulating their question. I know I have heard from a lot of parents in that there is a sense of they don't know what they don't know. So some of those things are, what is living on campus going to look like? Are visitors allowed? If my student is moving in, what will that process be? What kind of activities in this virtual land that we now live will there be? Can you shed a little bit of light, since you do oversee student involvement and engagement as well as our reach and our, leadership programs?
Sure. There was a lot in that question, Colleen, so I might need you
There
to
really was, sorry.
circle back some of those pieces to make sure I get them all. So I'll start with the folks that might be moving in with us on residential campus. That move-in plan should the finalization, in order to out of abundance of caution and in coordination with the public health orders, etc. It has been a little bit delayed of what we've done in years past, but again, we just want to make sure that we're doing it right and our students and staff are going to be as safe as they possibly can when we're doing this move-in process. But it's looking like it's going to be taking place on starting the Thursday, the 14th, and instead of it being in 1.5 days, we're going to be doing it over 4 full days to make sure that we are maximize social distancing. And the move-in process will be assigned based on the bedroom that individual students have been assigned to, again, to make sure that we are appropriately social distancing. The move-in is going to, when folks come to campus, they will check in at the GMC, and then they will, from the GMC, they'll get their room card, which will gain them access to their individual apartment, individual bedrooms. Again, there will be a lot more information coming because we're definitely going to be in compliance with our own university safety program, but also all identified public health orders. And as anyone who has been paying any attention to what's been happening nationally related to COVID and the coronavirus, those things tend to change almost daily. So part of the reason for the delay is just to make sure that we had the most accurate and best information we could provide to our students and their families, of course, as they're planning their venture to Roanoke Park in Sonoma State. So that would be the move-in process. We're trying to figure out what food service might be, given the needs and the survey that was done. There may not actually be a need for food service on campus, but we're looking at options to help students who may not have cars do grocery delivery and food delivery from off-campus vendors. So a lot of that is still in the works right now, but we are definitely making sure that students will have access to food when they're on campus. As far as programming and events, I think, Colleen, that was one of the questions that was in that conglomeration of questions you had.
Amalgamation of everything I've heard over the summer. Yes, sir, that was part of it.
Awesome. So programming, I actually was just looking at the proposed programming calendar yesterday, and even if we are, whether your student is virtual or with us on campus, our goal is to make sure that everyone has a very contemporary experience, with the hope that everyone will be with us on campus in the spring semester. So we don't want people to miss out on anything. So for example, we'll be having, excuse me, We'll be having formal recruitment, but both men's and women's groups, so that for folks that are interested in joining a fraternity or sorority. So that will be happening, and that whether you're on campus or virtual, you'll have access to go through the recruitment process to see if fraternity and sorority life might be a right fit for you. We are going to be looking at, from our campus recreation program, they've been doing programming all summer. And their programming has been anything from learning to swim on land to virtual ghost stories. And they have been doing social distance hiking for folks that are in town that still want to get out and about and do hiking in a safe way that is ensuring appropriate social distancing. From residential education and campus housing, their primary focus this fall is going to be safety and security for students. So making sure that students are aware of not just safety concerns, but also university expectations because we're having students living with us on campus. We want to make sure that students are being safe with each other and making sure that students are making good choices when it comes to potential exposure of the coronavirus more specifically. Student involvement beyond just fraternity and sorority recruitment. We're going to be having virtual club fairs. So all the 200 plus clubs and orgs that we have on campus, we're going to be having a few different club fairs for students to be able to connect with their peers over like interests. So whether you're looking at a political organization or a faith-based organization or the Disney Club, we're going to do our best to make sure that students have access to opportunities to connect with each other. Because we want to make sure we're building community. Because one of the great aspects of Sonoma State is the fact that our community is pretty tight. We are part of the CSU system, but if you've had the opportunity to come to our campus, you'll probably get the feeling that we're a kind of a small, mid-sized private school because of our facilities and the way our students are respected and treated. It doesn't necessarily feel always like a state school. So that will definitely be happening. Club sports, we're looking at doing virtual gaming systems. So we still might be doing intramural basketball, but it might be through an Xbox or any number of other services that are available to students in their homes. The Hub Cultural Center does a lot of programming based on social identities. So whether you're a person of color or identify as a member of the LGBTQIA community or have an intersection of some of those identities, they do a lot of programming around specific interests and identities to make sure that those individual students feel supported and feel like they have a space on our campus. So I think actually we're probably going to have more programs in the fall semester than we had last year, just because we want to make sure that students can have a place and can find a place and a community at Sonoma State.
Wonderful, thank you. We have a question. Will the students be tested for COVID before move-in or at some point?
So good question. We are not health providers, and so we ourselves will not be doing COVID testing. Part of the communication that's going to be coming out is to make sure that if a student is coming here from out of area, that they are aware of what hospitals or urgent cares might take their insurance. So if they do need medical support, our student health center will be open on campus, but we don't have COVID testing within our campus community itself specifically, but we will support students in making sure they get testing if needed. There is a daily screening that we're asking all students as well as faculty and staff that are on campus to fill out daily to make sure that they're monitoring not just their temperature, but also the list of 12 or 16 common symptoms as related to the COVID virus, as outlined for us by the CDC. So we are very much in process of supporting the international and national guidelines that are out there related to COVID and testing. But on campus ourselves, we will not be testing students.
Thank you. How many freshman students we have moving in on campus versus virtual?
That's a good question too. And not to not answer that question, but it kind of changes daily. Um, our first year numbers, the last I heard was somewhere between 900 and 1,000, and we'll have over 200 first year students on campus with us. So the scalability is going to be very different than years past, because normally our normal first year class is around 1,500, and for obvious reasons, COVID being one of them, a lot of students are choosing to remain sheltering in place in their homes with their families, and not come to campus this fall. That said, for spring semester with housing deposits, we are going to be pretty close to being full, barring that health department and public health orders allow us to be open fully, more traditionally for the spring semester, of course.
Great, thank you. We have a question in the chat asking, is there a support group for freshman students on how to do virtual learning or virtual tutoring if needed?
Yes, so we have LARC, which is our essentially our learning lab tutoring space, and they will be doing virtual both drop-in and scheduled appointments for individual students who might be struggling with a certain subject or topic. A lot of the individual schools and programs also offer specific academic support or tutoring on those individual topics. So those would definitely be available to all students, whether you're a first year student or a transfer student or a returning student for that matter. Those resources are always available. With regard to virtual learning, one of the programs that we're looking at is, well, life skills is one of the pieces that we do a lot of programming around, because a lot of folks, when they came to campus, have never done laundry before. A lot of folks, when they've come to campus, have never had to prepare a meal for themselves before. And so a lot of what is done in the first month or so on campus is a lot of just making sure people are transitioning well. So there will be a lot of check-in through our advising center and Logo Connect. It is a chat function that students are able to chat with individual people and team members via their mobile devices just to check in. And the Logo Connect will be pretty active, I believe, this fall, just making sure students are connecting. So thank you. LARC is Learning and Academic Resource Center. So yes, I do believe that there will be lots of opportunities for students if they feel like they are struggling with something. Also, one of the pieces that the care team does, if a student either self-reports or is reported by someone else that's struggling academically, anyone off campus or on campus can submit a care report to the care team, and then we follow up with that individual student anywhere from 1 to 23 times if that's what the student needs for success. And 23 is the most we've ever followed up with one person. Because I was just looking at those numbers last week, so it's very much on the top of my brain. So like I said, we do spend a lot of time making sure and checking in, which is different than checking up on students to make sure that they're successful.
Thank you so much. We have a question from Danielle. What will be open for students who are living on campus? Health center, library, etc.?
Student health will definitely be open. The Schultz will be open partially. Schultz is our library, sorry, I apologize. Schultz will be open partially. Our IT is also located in the first floor of the Schultz building, so there will be access to some of those spaces down there. Our Salazar, which is where the majority of our classes will be taking place that are actually having in-person instruction for the fall semester. And that's where our CWO Service Center is. So that's where students can get their ID card or pay bills or order a parking pass, any number of services that you might need. Salazar will be open, and one in Darwin will be open. which is another academic classroom building, just for instruction purposes. Services will be limited in person, but delivery will be about the same because a lot of our services we are able to pivot a little bit and provide them virtually. So for example, you may not be able to go to the advising center and sit down in someone's office to have a meeting about advising, and we'll be having individual one-on-one advising sessions with students in preparation for their academic pursuits. So the location might change, but the experience and services will not be. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you. We have another question. Will there be study groups and ways for the kids to meet other students safely?
Yes. So one of the things for folks that have students that are going to be living on campus with us, there will be programming put together to get to know your individual suite mates, as well as other folks within campus. We're looking at a lot of virtual communities just to ensure social distancing. And like I said before, we'll still be doing programming. So instead of going to, like, this is very low hanging fruit, but instead of going to WB and have a bingo party, they might be doing virtual bingo, and you'll be able to see kind of like a Zoom screen with the 38 other people participating in that program. Bingo is really big on our campus, as well as crafting is also very big on our campus. I think it's kind of fun and very interesting that college students are so into bingo and so into crafting, but it works for us, and students are very happy participating in programs like that. So we are looking at doing grab and go crafts for that exact reason, because so many students love that type of programming that we're gonna, here's all the supplies you need for this individual craft, and sign in at 8:30 on Tuesday night, and we're gonna build whatever the craft thing is together. We're also looking at potentially doing programming like that outside, because that's within health orders with a 6-foot radius. So it's going to be a little different for sure. But at the same time, we're going to make sure that students are able to interact and participate with each other one way or another.
Great, thank you. That is all the questions we have posted so far. But one of the things I've heard a lot of feedback about, Dr. Henne, is how students can then take maybe their experiences that they have this year and perhaps pay it forward. Is there ways to get involved in leadership and programs of that nature?
Yes. So two of the signature leadership programs that we have on campus, one of them is called the Circle of Leadership, and the other one is called Seawolf's Lead. And then I guess the third one would be the JUMP program. So Circle of Leadership is an application process that is more of a one-on-one mentoring with upper class student as well as with a faculty or staff member. And they kind of meet as a team to help develop students in a non-positional leadership program. So it's not for people like, I'm going to do this in order to be a president of a sorority. It's not like that. It's to kind of hone that full scope, that full experience, and cultivate a well-rounded student leader who may move on to be a president of their sorority, but could also just be a good community member. The Seawolf Leads program, that's more of a generalist leadership experience, one-offs. So it's time management, how to run a meeting, how to build an agenda, how to balance budgets, how to deal with difficult people, how do you fire a volunteer. It's a lot of programming like that. So students that might find themselves in positional leadership across campus, whether formally or informally, can kind of hone some of those skills to be better leaders as they walk in the world. Our JUMP program through our student government is a community service program that focuses on join us in making progress, is what JUMP stands for. And so they do a lot of our service programming off campus. They facilitate our food pantry on campus. Work with our basic needs initiative for students that might be housing insecure. So there's a lot of ways for students to get involved. Now, like I said, some of these things will look a little different because of social distancing, but the delivery will still happen. For example, all summer long, the food pantry has been open twice a week to make sure people have access to food. Because during summer, dining is closed, and we still have students on campus for summer. So we make sure that whatever foreseeable needs that a student might have, we're trying to anticipate those as much as possible.
Thank
Colleen,
you.
did I get all your question there?
Yes, I think you did. And I'm going to put in a plug for what it is as the leadership structure on campus now. I also want to mention the leadership class of University 238. As it stands now, that is the prerequisite class. It's a theory class. Students don't have to take this class to be a positional leader, but if they do want to do, or they don't have to take it only to be a positional leader, but to be a resident assistant or an RA or a peer mentor or an orientation leader or a bridge leader, this is the leadership course that is the prerequisite for that. If your student is not part of the freshman learning community, it is a great community building. I myself am one of the instructors, which is not the only reason why I am touting its good parts, but it is a real community because it is all based on reflection, and you find what kind of leader you want to be in reflection, oftentimes what you've experienced, what you haven't. So that is something for students to consider now or in the future, because it is wonderful and it teaches how to build community and value everyone's role in leadership positions rather than just how do you plan an event, which I plan events all the time. I love doing that, but it's also how to bring together the community around those events and how to value, like I said, each and everyone's role in that. So University 238 is that program, and it satisfies area GEE. So it has a number of good qualities. We do have a question from Val. Due to budget cuts, the tennis and water polo teams were eliminated rather suddenly. Has there been any discussion or movement in reinstating those teams?
Good question. I actually do not work in our athletics program, but as a campus partner to them, I know that decision was not made easily, and I surmise that we would have interest in bringing those and maybe other teams back to campus once our current situation is managed internationally. So whereas not necessarily my authority to make assumptions or decisions, I know it was a very difficult decision and no one necessarily wanted to do that. And my assumption would be is that we would try to bring back all the pieces across campus that have been eliminated due to COVID and budget cuts when we're able to do so. I got a question from related to advising and registration. By now, your student should have registered for all of their classes for fall. We do recommend about 15 units per semester to graduate in that 4-year period of time. That is just the average. You don't have to do 15 every time. Some semesters you might do 12, another semester you might have to do 15 or 16 to catch up. That's okay. Like I said in the very beginning, everyone's journey is going to be a little bit different. Classes are offered in rotation, so they may not always be available the semester ideally that you feel like you would need or have to have them. But they will be offered and they will come back in cycle. So all of us, all students would have to be prepared to have some flexibility with that. Again, that also goes back to that 4 to 6 year graduation plan. If you do take about 15 units per semester, you will graduate within that 4-year period of time. But again, everyone's journey is different and success is measured differently by different people. So the priority is to complete your degree. And if you've not registered yet, definitely you can reach out to Colleen or one of the orientation folks to get you in touch with the advising center to potentially get registered for classes as needed.
Yes, please do that. I've been collaborating with the Advising and Transfer Center, who houses most of our professional academic advisors, and a Seawolf chat campaign went out just the other day to students via text, asking if they have any questions or if they need other assistance registering. And it had great response. So advisors are actively reaching out to your students. If they haven't heard from someone yet, it might simply be that they have not gotten to that part of their lists yet. Please have them reach out to the orientation leaders and the advising center. They are ready and able and want to assist your students. Registration is open currently in our open registration window until today is not Thursday. It's open until Friday at 4 o'clock. And then it closes down for a couple of days to do some administrative processing, and then it opens back up on the 14th. So there is a window where it has closed, but they are still working with students from now until the 7th, and then again on the 14th.
And I believe bills have also gone out. And so sometimes what happens, a student might miss that email related to their tuition bills and instruction bills. And if there's not a payment plan in place or the bills aren't paid, it's possible that classes will be dropped from their schedules. So I would suggest you check, all parents and guardians should be checking into their student just to make sure that they're aware of the bill and a payment plan or payments have been made, just to make sure they don't lose their classes.
Yes, first round of bills are due August 7th, and to stay in line with FERPA regulations, all bills will be going to your students' sonoma.edu email address. So if they are not quite checking that email address yet, now's the time to urge them to do that. If you don't think they will continuously check that for bills, maybe they might answer professors' emails, but if you think a bill might get overlooked, you can create, or they can create for you, a guest account to be able to see those finances pieces. But all communication from the university, pretty much after orientation, will go to the student's SSU email.
And that's really for the protection of your student.
We have some more time. Do we have any other questions? Gosh, Ryan, what did we talk about the other day that we might be able to add in here?
I'm gonna drop my email in the chat function over there. The Dean of Students Office is pretty much your one-stop shop if you don't know who else to contact on campus to get support for your student. So normally I give out about 1,000 cards over the course of the orientation month to parents and students. Because if you don't know who else to contact at the university, contact me and I'll at least get you to the right spot to get your question answered or get the service that you need for your student. So please do copy paste or write down my email address. I'm more than happy to help out wherever I can.
Any more questions? I don't think I have any others. Most of our parents and guests have actually asked some of the questions that I typically have in my brain. So if we don't have any other questions, I will just thank Dr. Henne for his time. I will thank you, parents and guardians and guests, for coming to us today. This recording, or one very similar to it from the other day, will be loaded into your online orientation that you created guest account access for. If you haven't yet done that, please reach out to orientation@sonoma.edu and we can help you do that. And you'll have access to these videos for the duration. Once you have access, you have access. It doesn't get removed from you. So if later you're talking with your student and you're processing, you think, gosh, I wish I could have asked that, you can either go back to these videos and rewatch them or simply reach out to Ryan or myself or any other folks across campus. To say we have an open door policy is bittersweet because we don't have doors anymore unless we're looking at our homes, or, you know, in this case, I'm coming to you faceless from my bedroom to not have my daughter on the call. But we are here truly for you. And in this virtual world, we are often more accessible because we want to make sure that we are meeting your needs and meeting where you're at. So I will thank you for all of your time. I am very excited to have you join us in our final week of NOMA Nation orientation, parent and guest orientation. And I will put a plug out to please join us for our closing ceremony on Friday at 4 o'clock, where we get to celebrate you and your students and their decision to come to Sonoma. We have guest speakers, including our president, Dr. Sakaki, and some other folks across campus. So we hope to see you there, and have a wonderful day. And there are more sessions later this afternoon. So
Colleen,
again, I hope to.
I forgot to mention
Uh,
Potentia.
you forgot to mention, oh, Potentia, yes.
So sorry to interrupt the walkout here. Potentia, at many other campuses and universities, it might be called convocation for students, but for us, it's called Potentia because essentially sun is setting on your high school experience and the sun is rising on your collegiate experience. And so that is our biggest onboarding post orientation. We're thrilled that you're here. Our returning students welcome our newest community members, whether it be transfers or first year students. And that will be delivered virtually this year. And we do hope that both students and their guardians or parents participate with us for that Potentia program. And so that will be the night of the Monday night, which I think is the 17th. So that would definitely be something that you should all encourage your student and as well as yourself to participate in, because that's really where our first years and our transfers connect with our returning students for the first time in a big, big way. So we hope that you're able to participate in that program with us.
Great. Any last thoughts, questions? Well,
Thank you for trusting us with your student.
Absolutely. We are grateful to have you part of our Seawolf community. And as Ryan says, it is a great day to be a Seawolf. Thanks all.